all things must come to an end. Whether you've been a fan of the Krakoan era of X-Men that Marvel introduced just a few years ago, it is inevitable that Krakoa is ending, or seemingly so. Marvel is ramping up for this in true Marvel fashion by releasing six new 5-issue miniseries, all hopefully culminating to something later this year. So in this episode, I'm going to run down these miniseries, tell you my personal thoughts, and if you stick around, I'll tell you what I'm adding to my pulls, if any. Hello to all my friends out there in YouTube land. It is your good buddy Philtastic Phil here, and I'd like to welcome you back to my channel. So just as I said, let's go through some of these titles here. We'll go through all of them, rather. So the first I've got my iPad over here, just to read off the descriptions. Reign of X by Turan Grönbeck. I don't know if I even said that right. I guess it's a Swedish or Finnish name. It's got one of those O's that looks like a zero. And Diogenes Neves. I feel more confident about Diogenes. That's quite a cool name. Who apparently was on Deathstroke. I read a couple issues of Deathstroke, but I don't know Diogenes. Sees Magic, Danny Moonstar, Marrow, Dust, Curse, and Typhoid Mary get mysteriously transported to Vanheim, one of Thor's 10 realms. I know Danny, I know Magic, I know Marrow, I know Dust. Typhoid Mary, I didn't realize made her way to Krakoa. I'm not all up to date on all the Krakoan titles, so I've got to see why that's the case. Curse I'm not familiar with, so before we continue, I'm going to look and see who Curse is. Okay. She became a young resident of Krakoa after its establishment of a mutant-exclusive island nation. On the island, she harassed Kate Pryde for not being able to interact with the Krakoan teleporting gateways. Sometime later, Curse vehemently celebrated Pryde's resurrection as the Red Queen. When playing with her friends Fauna, Curse witnessed him going missing in the Iraq Coral. She decided to ask Cable for help. Okay, she's a resident of the Academos habitat. She's just one of those newer characters that I guess hasn't stood out to me. She was on, I guess, X-Men Green, because their article's referring to Sauron Nature Girl. I didn't read X-Men Green. I started reading it digitally and just didn't care for it. I didn't finish it. She's dead, so I guess she's coming back, as most of the X-Men do. Well, they have the resurrection protocols now. Powers. Vocalized jinxed inducement. Curse's powers enables her to trigger bedeviling, interesting word, happenstances. Oh, this is on marvel.fandom, so whoever wrote this article was on fire. Bedeviling happenstances to anyone spoken to which she directly focuses when she focuses on them. Her ability is such that its power can track back to and affect psionic links established through mental enhancers if she were so inclined. Kind of reminds me of a lot of different characters. Like I've been watching Umbrella Academy. There's a character that seems to kind of mimic that. It looks like she can just kind of mess people up. Okay, so Curse, she's who she is anyway. Okay, Vanheim, where they learn they hold the key to fulfilling a prophecy that can either raise the realms to riches or cause it to fall to ruin. With Magic's powers malfunctioning and a mysterious figure amassing power on the outskirts of the realm, these X-Men are going to have to band together if they want to stay alive long enough to find their way home. And that starts August 23rd. Everything starts after the next Hellfire Gala, which is on July 26th. Shout out to my sister. That's her birthday. Reign of X. I mean, I'm not terribly familiar with Turan Grönbeck. Going back, I think I did read a couple issues that he did. One was in Jane Foster Thor, which a few issues I read of that series I was not a fan. To be honest with you, it's going to be a pass for me. I like Magic. I like Danny Moonstar. Dust, I think, is a great underutilized character. Typhoid Mary, I feel like it was thrown in there, and Marrow, you could take her or leave her, but it just doesn't sound that compelling, at least to me. All right, so go to the next one. Dark X-Men, penned by Steve Fox. Not sure who he is. And drawn by Jonas Scarf. This dark web follow-up sees Madeline Pryor, Havoc, Archangel, and Gambit form a new team that also includes Azazel, Zero/Kenji Udo, Albert, the android doppelganger of Wolverine/Logan, and Emplate/Marcus St. Croix. This deadly group will band together to fill the void left by the X-Men and are seemingly the perfect team to combat the harsh conditions of the Fall of X. Their hearts are in the right place, but under the unpredictable leadership of the Goblin Queen and operating out of New York's Limbo Embassy, will this team's dark ways turn the tide of mutant kind or make things far worse? I'll be honest with you, I think that does sound like one of the more interesting titles, at least in the last few years. I don't know Steve Fox very well at all, as in, I don't know. What really interests me is the lineup. I've always been a fan of Albert, one of my favorite kind of classic Wolverine titles. I was a little let down by his most recent appearance, which was, I think Dan Slott wrote that, if I'm not mistaken, during his Iron Man run. Kenji's kind of a weird choice. You might not realize who he is. He was a character during, I think he was introduced, if I'm not mistaken, during Legion. No, it was during Generation Hope. And he was kind of the nemesis in that, if I remember correctly. I might be wrong on that. I didn't read the Dark Web. I've actually been meaning to read it online, so maybe I'll do that. I'm not quite sure. I know that people have been saying good things about Madeline Pryor with that. Emplate is an interesting choice. He was a Generation X villain introduced in the first issue. Always thought he was interesting, has a good connection to M, and haven't really seen him around the last couple years. So that one seems interesting. I don't know if I'm adding it, though. You'll have to wait until the end of the video to find out. Yep, that's my big tease. And that starts on August 16th. Okay, the next one is the Astonishing Ice Man, written by Steve Orlando. Nope. Not going to read the rest. Sorry, Steve Orlando, to be honest with you, he kind of ran out of any goodwill he had for me with those first couple issues of the new volume of Marauders, which, in my opinion, was just despicably bad. I also most recently read the first issue of his Scarlet Witch series. I read that digitally, and I'm glad I didn't buy that in print. Sorry, Steve. I don't think you read X-Men well. Just my opinion. So, yeah, we're not doing that one. Okay. The next three. Children of the Vault is a 4-issue series written by Deniz Camp in his Marvel debut. I don't know who he is. With art by Luca Maresca, which follows Cable and Bishop as they hunt down the Titalier. They're going to hunt down the Children of the Vault, who've been released from their prison as a result of the events in July's X-Men Hellfire Gala 2023. Introduced in Mike Carey and Chris Picciollo's X-Men number 188 in 2006, the Children of the Vault are a technologically advanced offshoot of humanity with dark designs for mutant kind, and who now wish to give their tech to the rest of humanity. I've been liking a lot of what they've been doing with the Children of the Vault in the Krakoan Age. I think they've taken some interesting chances with X-23 in that, and also with Cinch, and I feel like Darwin was involved in that too, if I'm not mistaken. Sounds interesting. I like the inclusion of Bishop. He is one of my favorite X-Men, and I kind of feel like they didn't really know what to do with him. I do think it's interesting that they paired him with Cable, considering Bishop was pretty much the villain of not the most recent installment of Cable's series, the one before that, where he was guiding Hope through time. Okay, Alpha Flight by writer Ed Brisson, awesome, and artist Scott Godlewski. Sorry, Scott. The 5-part series sees a schism form in the ranks of Canada's premier superheroes as the government goes on an offensive against Captain Krakoa, forming a new team and a new line of Sentinels. Battle lines are drawn between Guardian, Puck, Snowbird, and Shaman, and their former teammates Aurora, Northstar, and Nemesis, as well as Aurora's partner Fang. That's Dakin. They're calling him Fang now. It marks Alpha Flight's 5th series and first since 2011's Fear Itself tie-in. I've picked up a lot of the Alpha Flight tie-ins, and I've enjoyed them. Alpha Flight tie-ins, the Alpha Flight series. This one, it kind of seems, and I love Ed Brisson. I'm sure he's going to do a great job. I don't know, the plot seems a little bit redundant to me. Um, I do like that they put Dakin in there. He and Aurora had formed a relationship during the most recent installment of X Factor, and I'm glad that they're kind of sticking with that, because I really think it's helped his character tremendously, and it's really fleshed her out too, because I feel like people either put her in the background or write her as a psycho. There's no in between, or just make her North Star's sister. Yeah, I shouldn't say they make her that; they focus on that. Okay, and is this the last one? Uncanny Spider-Man, a 5-part series where none other than the Nightcrawler becomes New York's newest Spider-Man. Way of X and Legion of X writer Cy Spurrier will continue to pen Kurt Wagner's adventures, with Lee Garrett joining him on art. According to Spurrier, Kurt's unusual turn comes about because Krakoa did not offer him the joy, freedom, and thrill of being a superhero. But of course, it's not quite that simple, he says. Is Nightcrawler really doing this for the thrill, or is he hiding? Or is it easier to put on a mask and punch some villains in the nose than stare at... I'm just butchering this description. Let me go back to that sentence here. Is it easier to put on a mask and punch some villains in the nose than it is to stare trauma in the eye? I'll be honest with you, it does sound like an interesting lead-up. I had assumed by the picture they released that it was one of the Nightcrawlers from the Sins of Sinister story that's currently ending right now. I'm not caught up with it, but I have not been liking the Nightcrawlers series during the Sins of Sinister, so I haven't really been following up with it. That being said, Cy Spurrier, very hit or miss for me. I feel like he's either firing on all cylinders or just falling flat. Probably like me. But it is an interesting idea just for Nightcrawler to be in there. Why did Nightcrawler have to be Spider-Man, though? He couldn't be his own thing? I don't know. So I've gone through all 6 of these series. It looks like one of them is a 4-issue series, and the rest are 5-issue series. So you're talking 5 times 5 is 25. You're talking 29 issues to come out in 4 months. So if they're $4.99 each, you're talking $4.99, and I'm not, of course, thinking of any exclusive variants. You're talking at least $20 plus tax. Given all of this information, and kind of, I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of a little baffled by Marvel's recent penchant for 5-issue limited series versus 4. That's a whole discussion for another time. That being said, I'm not going to be reading any of these in print. Just my opinion. It's just, look, there's too much to read. I'm finding with a lot of these 5-issue series, rather than read them piece by piece, I'm letting them stack up and just reading them all at once. And I've noticed that when you do that, at least like the first couple issues are already on the Marvel app, and I haven't read one yet that kind of impedes the enjoyment of the main series. So I'm going to save my money. I pay for the Marvel Unlimited app. I'll read it digitally, or I'll just forget about it. If I had to pick up a couple series, if I had to pick up, let's say, one book in print, I would say Dark X-Men sounds the most interesting to me. I do like how Children of the Vault sounds. Again, I'm staying away from Steve Orlando completely. The others just seem okay. Like I said, maybe Nightcrawler, but Cy Spurrier's burnt me before. But enough about what I think. What do you think? Are you picking up any of these titles? Are you just kind of sick of the Krakoan era? I mean, look, I understand Marvel's got to make money, but do we need really 6 more X-Men series, even if they're short term? But let me know what you think in the comments. I'll be reading them, and I don't know, interested in seeing what you think. Gotta go. Peace, love, and comics.